It's a gorgeous day at Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida, spring training home to the St. Louis Cardinals. Today, it's Adam Wainwright on the mound for St. Louis, and we take a look at our Toyota keys to the game. Add innings, he'll do that, and fine-tune those mechanics for that opening day start. Baseball comes your way next. This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball, and this afternoon from Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida, it's the Detroit Tigers and the St. Louis Cardinals. And welcome to Cardinals baseball with the Redbird Hall of Famer, Jim Edmonds. I'm Dan McLaughlin. Delighted to have you with us for day baseball here at spring training. Adam Wainwright making his third start of the spring. What do you expect to see today?
Well, I want to see if he can handle the endurance today. It's a big test going from 3 and 4 innings to trying to get 5 or 6 out of him. Hopefully 70-something pitches today. Third start, starting to work towards that opening day. And I'm just excited to see these guys keep performing each day and learning a little bit. Spring training is a test now. It's getting long.
Yadier Molina will be catching Adam Wainwright. Those two have been together for over a decade. Ricky Fowler is here and taking in some of the pregame festivities. We have baseball. Comes your way next. Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Budweiser, by the Missouri Lottery. Every ticket you play gives back to schools across Missouri, so play it forward with the Missouri Lottery. And by Ford, the official cars and trucks of the St. Louis Cardinals. Beautiful day here at Roger Dean Stadium as the Cardinals take to the field. St. Louis playing host to the Detroit Tigers here this afternoon. And a look at Brad Ausmus's lineup here. Is this matchup taking place in back-to-back games? Cardinals were in Lakeland yesterday. Now they make the trip to Jupiter. Ian Kinsler will lead it off, followed by Jose Iglesias, then Miguel Cabrera, one of the best hitters in the game today. J.D. Martinez, Nick Castellanos, Tyler Collins, Casey McGee, Brian Holiday, and John Mayberry Jr. Always fun, Jim Edmonds, to watch Adam Wainwright, whether it's in spring training, World Series, regular season. There's a look at his numbers now in his 11th year with the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah, it's fun to watch him pitch. He's such a professional. I was thinking about this earlier today when I was driving to the ballpark and watching him. What a great teammate. He's just one of those guys you want on your team no matter what. We've seen him hurt, leading the team, just like Yachty does, but it's just fun to watch and execute pitches. It'll be interesting today to see his command as he works his way up the ladder in pitches. I think that's going to be important. I think that you see a guy in spring training can get through 1, 2, 3 innings, but when you start to get 4, 5, and 6, you know, the breather in between innings starts to get more important, and trying to figure out how to keep going back out there over and over and over, something they haven't done yet this year.
Dobbs Tire Auto Center's defense for the Cardinals. Holiday is in left field. Primarily, he's been at first this spring. Tommy Pham in center. Brandon Moss is in right. On the infield, Carpenter and Jerko on the left side. Wong Adams on the right side. And Yadier Molina is behind the plate. Last game we saw Matt Holliday take a ground ball, just a screamer off the collarbone, but he was okay, and we'll get his first look in left field, a familiar spot for him.
I don't think ground ball will do that justice, but no. It was a smashed one-hopper off the bat, and here we go.
So here is Ian Kinsler. He's been around a long time. 4-time All-Star that was drafted back in the 17th round from the University of Missouri. And he's had a good spring with 3 home runs. One of their top hitters so far this spring in all of Major League Baseball. Cactus League or the Grapefruit League. You know, you brought up something interesting here. Adam Wainwright, how long he's been around. And then you think about how long Yadier Molina has been around, too. He came up in 2004. These two have been battery mates for 10 years. And there's only a handful of players that can lay claim to that currently in baseball. You've got Joe Mauer and Glenn Perkins, Minnesota. David Ortiz and Dustin Pedroia. And the other one that has 10 years or more is Ryan Howard and Carlos Ruiz. Ground ball left side. Carpenter stays down on it, makes the play, and there's one away.
You said decade in the open, and I almost had to rethink how long a decade was. It's hard to believe. It's been 10 years since these guys have both been playing on the same team. Obviously, 2006, what a great year for the Cardinals organization, but been a pleasure to watch both of these guys from then on until now, and still going.
That's his previous start last weekend, Saturday, against Houston. And here is Jose Iglesias. The Tigers just trying to get healthy for this year, and a key member of that health club, if you will, would be Jose Iglesias. Remember back in 2014, he missed the entire year with shin injuries, missed the final month of last year with a hand injury. Terrific defender, and he's batting .357 this spring. Good late action on that pitch. Quickly, no balls and 2 strikes.
One of those things you look for. It's so weird from the booth. I'm trying to watch it live, trying to watch a little bit of the replay, just seeing location and command early on, seeing if he's under control, and then again you look for it late in spring, maybe in his last inning, to see if he's getting tired or not.
And Wainwright at times in spring training can be so efficient with his pitches. You'll see him go 6, 7, 8 innings. Not sure we'd see the 8 innings or 7 innings today, but by the end of spring you will. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Adam, of course, is penciled in to be the opening day starter April 3rd in Pittsburgh against Francisco Liriano, the outstanding lefty of the Pirates. Here's a 2-2. Hit out of play. Sold out crowd here at Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida. Standing room only.
Big crowd today, huh?
Great.
It's the beginning of spring break for everybody in the Midwest. I think some people have been off for a week, but I think the majority of people now are starting to get a little baseball action down here in the nice weather.
2-2 is fisted towards third. Charged by Carpenter. Tried to come up with it with a bare hand, and that'll be a base hit for Jose Iglesias. So the changes with the Cardinals rotation this year. John Lackey, we know, signed as a free agent with Chicago. Lance Lynn is out for the year with Tommy John, and Adam Wainwright is back in that rotation. 8th all-time on the Cardinals wins list.
Not the way you want to draw it up, but if you have to exchange one for the other, I guess you would like to make sure Mr. Wainwright is back in the rotation.
Well, you like to see this kind of matchup in spring, don't you? Wainwright and Cabrera, and that pitch looked to be right down the middle.
And nobody flinches.
What is it about this guy that makes him an incredible hitter?
The thing I think being a hitter is, for him, he's so strong. A lot of times as a hitter, you get caught up in being tired and you have to cheat a little bit. He's so strong to every field that he doesn't cheat, and he can stay on the ball for a long time. And he's very patient. He knows the strike zone. But I think that the main thing is he's just so strong that he can hit the ball out from line to line. And literally, that's probably the toughest thing to do as a hitter, is not have to cheat when you're tired. And it doesn't seem like he has to do that very often.
I was talking with scouts before the game. They think that he is the best opposite field hitter in baseball today. Molina fires to second, and a stolen base for Iglesias.
He stays inside the ball so well.
Yeah.
And just like I said, that is just all about being strong and confident. And when you start driving the ball out to right field as a right-handed hitter, right center, then you just know that you can stay back and you have to just hit the ball in the barrel. It's amazing what happens when you're big and strong, hit the ball in the barrel. It doesn't matter what part of the ballpark you hit the ball to.
Won his 4th batting title in the past 5 years. Last year, .338, 18 home runs. That was the fewest since his rookie year. Drove in 76, had 28 doubles. But remember, he missed 43 games. That was a career high with injuries. So if he stays in this lineup, it's a different looking lineup for Detroit. 3-1 the count. And that'll be a walk to Cabrera.
You see right there, even in spring training, you get a guy stealing second base, which something that La Russa didn't like too often is you don't really want to run and leave their open base for your best hitter, and probably the best hitter in baseball in general. Just give a chance for a guy like Adam to go and walk him and then go after the next guy, which doesn't have nearly the experience, and gives Adam all the choices in the world to either go after him if he's ahead in the count or go ahead and put him on first.
Here's J.D. Martinez, looks at a strike. Breakout season last year. He was an all-star. Won his first Silver Slugger award, hit .282. But what stands out, 38 home runs, 102 RBIs. And remember, this is an outfielder that just 2 years ago was let go by Houston. He was in the middle of their lineup, dealt with injuries. Houston gave up on him. The Tigers signed him. Retooled his swing thanks to Jason Castro. Remember him, the former Astro. And all of a sudden, he has a breakout season, signed a 2-year deal near $19 million.
And to do that in their park is not as easy as it looks. It's
Good point.
A pretty big ballpark, especially to center field.
0-2 the count. Wainwright would love the double play here. It's a breaking ball, and it's hit out of play, foul. Detroit a season ago, disappointing year. They were 74 and 87. 5th in the AL Central after 4 straight first place finishes. The 0-2. And a strikeout. First of the afternoon for Adam Wainwright. Cardinals a 100-win season a year ago, best in baseball. Pirates, the Cubs, so 3 teams in the Central with the best records in 2015. And then over in the American League Central, 2 of the best teams were in that division, but you also had the Blue Jays in the East. Here's Nick Castellanos, third baseman, 2 outs, 2 on. First pitch is taken for a ball. When Wainwright burst on the scene, did you guys anticipate that he was going to be this type of pitcher?
No, because if I had my choices, he'd still be a closer. Any guy that wins a World Series for you with his arm the way he did, picking up the ninth inning is I keep him there. But no, he's a starter, true and true, and I don't know if there's a better one right now.
The Cardinals coming up in the bottom of the first with Matt Carpenter leading things off. Wainwright gets the strikeout. Detroit strands 2. No score after a half inning. Averaged 94 wins in his first 4 seasons in the dugout for the Cardinals, and a lot of regulars in this lineup today. Matt Carpenter, Tommy Pham, Matt Holliday here in the first, and Jerko will bat cleanup. Adams, Molina, Moss, Wong, and the pitcher Wainwright. So the Cardinals not using the DH. They want to start getting their pitchers some at bats in these spring games. Carpenter hitting 167 this spring, coming off a 28 home run campaign. And the first pitch is taken for a ball inside.
I think this is about the time of spring where at least a couple days a week you're going to start seeing guys play back-to-back days, but you're going to see a lot more of the regulars out there more often and trying to maybe move them around on the field just to get them into the games more and more. It starts to become a time where you got to have to start picking up the endurance too on the field, just like the pitchers are.
This is Matt Boyd on the mound as you get a look at the numbers there for Carpenter. 25-year-old from Bellevue, Washington. 1-1 pitch. He's probably penciled into their AAA affiliate in the rotation in Toledo. Rotation overall for the Tigers, some big names. Justin Verlander, Jordan Zimmerman, Anibal Sanchez, Mike Pelfrey, and Daniel Norris would be the 5 right now. One ball and 2 strikes. Carpenter stays away from the breaking ball. Boyd pitched at Oregon State, which is now turned into a powerhouse in college baseball. Originally drafted by the Reds, did not sign. Then was drafted by the Blue Jays in the 6th round of the 2013 draft. And a strikeout of Carpenter. Let's take a look at the defense for Detroit. The start of this ball game today with Mayberry Jr. Saw him with the Phillies a year ago. He's in left. Tyler Collins could be a bench player in center. J.D. Martinez, their everyday right fielder. Castellanos, Iglesias, Kinsler, and McGee along the infield, and Hollidays behind the plate. Here's Tommy Pham. Well, Tommy does have a home run this spring. The Cardinals with only 10 this spring, and 4 of the 10 have been hit by players you would anticipate that would be going north with the club to Pittsburgh.
This is not a hitter's ballpark, so to speak. I think today is one of the very few days that the wind's almost blowing a little bit towards the left center, left field a little bit. Normally the wind's howling in off the ocean, which is coming straight in out of right field, and it is not a great hitter's ballpark for most of the spring.
Good start for Boyd. Looked to be a changeup that time to Pham, and he had him out in front and struck him out. Sure was.
Nice changeup. I think he threw him to that at bat, taking advantage of maybe knowing Tommy being super aggressive, as he always is, going after the first pitch and being a swinger. Threw him a nice changeup right there.
Here's Matt Holliday. He's hitting .308. No home runs. 1 RBI so far this spring. Leading the club in hits is Randall Grichuk with 11. Piscotty right behind him with 10. And Holliday picks up a base hit between third and short. 2-out hit, and the Cardinals have their first base runner of the afternoon.
Just a little slider there. Got a little bit too much of the plate. It was down, but that's been swinging the bat pretty good all spring, yeah. I think. Even though he hasn't had a lot of hits, we've seen a lot of great swings and just putting good at-bats together. All those hits will come, hopefully not until about the 4th of April.
As you said, you want to get hot maybe at the end of spring going into that first series against Pittsburgh as Jerko flies out to right. We're going to show you a highlight when we come back that Brad Ausmus would rather soon forget. My partner, though, he loves it. Stay with us. Brad Ausmus, the catcher for Houston. Boy, he wishes he was 3 for 19 because that number 3 would have been a maybe a World Series clincher. If not for this man, Jim Edmonds, with one of the great plays in Cardinals playoff history. Robbing Brad Ausmus saved 2 runs. And that incredible catch, that famous catch from 2004. Jeff Suppan on the mound. He was a postseason hero. As you get a look at Tyler Collins, I've talked to you about that catch. By the way, I've got goosebumps, and I look over at your arm, and you have goosebumps,
a little bit,
too.
Yeah.
You actually cheated a little bit right before that pitch, you told me, and by doing that, reading your pitcher, knowing the situation, that extra half step saved you guys and won the pennant.
Yeah, it was
There's a base hit to left.
It was a situation that I played Brad pretty shallow into right center field, and I don't remember if he was trying to go in or if just my vision saw the fastball leaking back over the plate, and I could just kind of see everything coming to a head, and I was like, I'm in trouble here. I got to get moving. And I got like a little bit of a step back towards left center field, just enough to open up and get moving before the ball was struck. And every time I watched it, I'd look at something different, and I was noticing how well I was running there with no missteps, and that sometimes is the key. I got a great jump and just dead on in the right spot at the right time. Got lucky. It was weird. It was almost like I just intersected the path of the baseball. You know, it wasn't coming down yet. I was like just cutting it off, and it's funny to watch it over and over. I start to pick apart a little bit here, a little bit there, but definitely something that I'll remember forever.
So all the fans. Here's Casey McGee. You've had so many famous catches. Is there one that is more important than that one there in terms of the great catches you've had? I don't think so.
I really don't. I really don't know. I really don't think so.
The magnitude of it?
I think that if I don't make that play, I don't think we win that game.
No way.
I believe that's the game with Roger Clemens on the mound.
It was. Scott Rowland hit a home run that day. This is hit out of play, and of course we got to Game 7 thanks to your heroics with a home run to walk it off in Game 6. That's a pretty good 24 hours you had there.
Yeah, and then opening day the next year we were in Houston, and I hit a grand slam off Roy Oswalt. And Phil Garner came up to me the next afternoon and said, "I've had enough of you. Stay out of my way."
Those were fun series, Houston and St. Louis. That's fought off, and that will drop. It's in the right field corner and cut off by Brandon Moss, and holding McGee to a single, but advancing to third is Tyler Collins.
That simple base hit right there is why Casey McGee has been around for so long. He just stays inside the ball. He's a strong hitter, and he doesn't mind getting jammed. And sometimes being a good hitter is just putting the ball in play. You can see Adam throws a pitch in on his hands, and he's just literally just trying to put the bat on the ball right there once you get tied up. And he has such a flat swing. It reminds me a little bit, I'm not comparing him to Albert, but with that flat swing, you stay in the zone for a long time and fight pitches off.
Here's Brian Holiday, catcher today. Former 6th-round pick back in 2010 from TCU. He was the Johnny Bench Award winner as the top amateur catcher in all of baseball back in 2010. Fighting for a backup spot here with Detroit. Jared Saltalamacchia has been brought over to the Tigers. And James McCann would be the everyday catcher. Speaking of TCU, there's Mr. Carpenter. Runners at first and third. The 1-1 pitch by Adam Wainwright. There's your ground ball. Run will score. Jerko to second. The turn, and not in time.
Got two of the faster guys on the field right there, but that ball not allowing Jerko to charge it with the high hop, and just doesn't have enough time to turn two right there. Did a good job, but just a little too deep. You see he has to retreat a little bit to get the hop. That right there is just enough to allow two of their probably slower runners to reach base.
Sure.
Casey not running well, and then Tim Holiday has a basically, I'm taking for granted that he's a catcher. He doesn't run well, but
beautiful breaking ball to John Mayberry Jr.
You see Adams got his breaking stuff working today. He's got a good curveball and a good tight slider. Seen a few of them already. Maybe going to be his go-to today if he needs to get out of a jam.
Here's the 0-1 pitch. A little bit low. Mayberry Jr. has bounced around a little bit. Of course, his dad was a prominent member of the Kansas City Royals. He was acquired in a trade from the aforementioned Houston Astros at the time. Ground ball, nice play. Carpenter to second there, and that's all they're going to get. Takes the hit away from John Mayberry Jr., gets the lead man, and an excellent play from the Cardinal third baseman.
It's a great play by Carp. And I think right here, if you look a little closely, might see a little bit of maturity right there out of Colton Wong. Not trying to turn that ball, maybe throw it in the dugout. 2 outs, we'd have a runner on second base. Eating it right there and just not trying to do too much. Make sure you get it out.
Such a difference when you know you have a spot and you're not trying to overly impress. And as you mentioned, maturity and understanding the game and just getting better and better. Lined into center field, there's Tommy Pham. The Tigers pick up a run here in the top of the second. Golden Wong, he'll be your everyday second baseman. This Detroit over St. Louis, and it's spring training 2016 from Jupiter, Florida. Our coverage continues on Fox Sports Midwest. Sunday, Cardinals face the Marlins at noon. You can catch it here or head to Ballpark Village. Game day specials. Watch it on the big screen at Fox Sports Midwest Live. This is big. These little at-bats that Matt Adams will get against a left-handed pitcher. Pitches 197 in his career against lefties. Also battling the shift here. Hits it off the end of the bat. Right into the shift for the first out.
Sometimes with the shift and you're keeping score, you got to figure out who caught the ball.
We have to do that right now.
Third baseman moved all the way over.
Right.
You see the shift has even evolved where they used to put the third baseman at short and the shortstop behind the bag at second. And now, obviously, usually the shortstop moves better than the third baseman, so you want to leave your shortstop in position.
And then even with 2 strikes, it'll change.
We saw that last week.
Here's Yadier Molina. Good to see him swinging the bat. Chops it to Castellanos. Throw up the line. The tag applied by McGee, and there's 2 down. Molina actually was on the backfields yesterday and hitting off of Alex Reyes. The Cardinals' top pitching prospect picked up a base hit, also struck out, but he's now starting to swing the bat. And here's another shift.
I talked to him today, and I asked him if he was going to start swinging the bat. I saw the lineup. Obviously, it made me realize that something was going on. He said he swung the bat yesterday, felt pretty good, and it was just kind of scheduling that, right on schedule, but scheduling that's kept him from swinging the bat previous in the last couple games that we've done.
So here's Brandon Moss. He's against the shift, and a different look in this shift for Detroit, and the fact that Castellanos is on the outfield grass, the third baseman. The second baseman's in his normal spot, if you will. That's Ian Kinsler.
It's like Nintendo.
It is. Moss does have a home run this spring, 5 RBIs, and pulls it foul.
Now you see why they have the shift on.
Yes. But it primarily only happens with lefties. You don't see a shift against right-handed batters.
You're right. I don't know why. You would think, because the lefties usually have that inside-out swing, but when you're a pull hitter, you're a pull hitter. So I guess they're going with the percentages here, and I'm laying down a bunt.
Well, you had good bat control. I mean, you were a guy that could push it that way and do it, where if you've been a power hitter primarily for your career, like Moss or Adams, trying to do something like that is foreign to them. It's not easy.
Yeah, it isn't easy, and you take it, but if you don't lay down a good bunt, you regret it for about 2 or 3 more innings.
Right. Well, good start here for Matt Boyd. He has struck out 3. 1-0 as we head to the third.
I think
May see him today. That Sam Tuivailala protecting himself from the sun. It is hot down there in the Cardinals bullpen. Jose Iglesias, 2, 3, and 4 in the lineup for Detroit. First pitch, a strike from Adam Wainwright.
That heat is a double-edged sword for a player. It's like it gets a little hot, gets a little tough to stand around and watch, especially down in the bullpen. But when it warms up, that means that wind stops blowing in from the ocean. And as a hitter, I'd rather it be hot and no wind.
Right.
As a pitcher, I'm sure they would like the wind. So I'm taking the heat any day I can take it. Any day I can get it.
No balls, 2 strikes. Iglesias, an infield hit first time up. Swings at that breaking ball, then strikes out. You mentioned it an inning ago. Wainwright's breaking ball looks good today. I thought it was okay in the first, but it's really gotten good.
Yeah, you could see the first. I thought the first slider he threw was good, and he went back to it a couple times. And the control, and then he throws the big breaking ball. Just tells me that he's got a good feel, and he's going to use it when he needs it. It was something Darryl Kyle used to say. When he had a good breaking ball, he saved it until he needed it. And if he had a bad breaking ball that day, he would throw it a lot to get it in the hitter's minds. I thought that stuck with me forever when he said that. And it's interesting to watch, because guys like this, it's been passed down from, DK to guys all the way back to Adam's age. And these pitchers share so many things, even when they don't play together. They get it hearsay from, like, say, maybe Suppan or someone else. And words like that from a guy with a great curveball will stick in the back of your mind forever.
There's a 2-0 pitch to Cabrera. Miguel Cabrera hit his 400th career home run last year, mid-May at Busch Stadium. And the only team he hasn't homered against, ironically, the Miami Marlins, the team that traded him to Detroit. And Detroit will open up their season at Miami this year. Good curveball. What a trade that has turned out to be for the Tigers. It was Dontrelle Willis, Miguel Cabrera for 6 prospects, one of them being Cameron Maybin, who's back with the Detroit Tigers. The 2-2. Lined in the right. That ball carries out all the way to Brandon Moss. There's 2 down.
See what a smooth swing that was, and just literally hit the barrel, and it drives the right fielder almost to the track on a line.
MLB.TV Premium. Everything you have come to expect and more. New low price for 2016. You can watch every out-of-market game of all 30 teams live in true high definition on over 400 supported devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. I also think it goes back to the point that you made earlier, that Miguel Cabrera lets the ball get deep, and he has power to all fields. And you just saw that on display there.
And the thing that you're looking for from a hitter like that is talking about letting the ball get deep. That means you see the ball that much longer and you get fooled less. And you see Miguel Cabrera probably swing at less balls than anyone in the league because of letting the ball get deep and staying inside the baseball. Allows you to see the ball longer, pick up the spin. And the other thing we talked about earlier in spring was it keeps you from cheating. And then when you cheat, you lose focus of what's going on. You don't see the spin on the sliders and breaking balls. So that's basically what separates him from everyone else, is he can stay inside the ball, see it longer, and swing at more strikes.
2-1 pitch to J.D. Martinez, who struck out back in the first. Adam has struck out 2 so far.
A guy like Miguel Cabrera is so comfortable that he'll even look for an off-speed pitch or try to not get out in front of pitches, and he'll literally take the fastball right out of the glove and foul it off to buy him another pitch.
The 2-2. The high fly ball lifted out to left field. Holiday going back. He is at the wall, leaps and caught it. The catch is made by Holiday out in left. He may have taken a home run away.
I think he did, and he stayed with that. A week ago, that ball's way back over the fence, and just the wind right there keep you in the game. And that's what I said. You never know. Stay with it. Take a chance at it.
Oh, yeah, that ball was gone. Nicely done from Holiday.
How fast is it?
A 1-0 lead as Matt Holliday made sure to keep it. A 1-run lead as he took a home run away from J.D. Martinez. Here is Colton Wong, followed by Adam Wainwright and then Matt Carpenter. And the first pitch is taken a little bit low. Wong is hitting .208, no home runs, 1 RBI. And a strike to Wong. Outfield is straight away. Good test here for Colton, too. One of the ideas of bringing in Jed Jerko is to give Mike Matheny options, third, short, second. So you may see against a tough lefty that Wong would sit. Jerko could play second base. But if he does that, don't worry about it. Ripped into right field, and Wong is thinking, too. On his way to second base, and the throw is offline. It's a double.
You see right there that he's another guy that keeps his hands inside the ball, and he can speed him up when he needs to. And It was interesting. I was watching to see if he was going to challenge this and see if he was going to go to second. I thought he made a bad turn here, and I was worried he was going to get thrown out. But he did. He stepped right on the inside corner of the bag like you're taught, and that propels you to second base. And it was a great replay right there. I was curious to see where it was because in fast motion it's hard to tell. But great turn and great effort going to second base.
Now Wainwright asked to bunt, and bunted foul.
Interesting note right here. You see the first baseman standing basically right down Adam's throat, and sometimes you're taught to swing. Adam Wainwright won the bunting challenge this year that the pitchers had, and it figures that he wins it. Obviously, he's the leader, and but it takes that just goes to show you that he's working on every facet of his game, and don't be surprised if he might hit one down Casey's throat right here.
Fouled back. Cardinals have two very good, well, really three very good hitting pitchers. Mike Leake has been known as a very good hitter. Wainwright, and then also Jaime Garcia can swing the bat a little bit too.
The funny thing is when you're standing around spring training talking to these guys, and if you're near a coach, first thing they'll say is, well, how many bunts did you lay down last year? We were talking with Jaime, and I think even Adam asked him, how many sacrifices? I don't care about your hits. I want to know how many times you sacrificed a runner over.
The bunt is down. Wong had to make sure it got down. Now advancing to third. Head first slide and in there safely. Tough position for him with that ball bunted in the air.
Yeah, great job. Adam getting the bunt down. It looked like it was going to carry to the pitcher, but give credit to Colton right there. Being patient, seeing the play in front of him, which is key. And you make your own choice, and got a good jump. He knew where he could get to third. You know that pitcher's focused on getting the hitter, and he's really not going to look at second base right there. And you can see Adam tries to maybe not bunt the ball to the first baseman. You see Colton right there with a great jump. Got a little bit of a walking lead again and made it safely to third. Well, easily to third. But that's key with one out.
Here is Carpenter. The interesting thing about Carpenter being a leadoff man is the fact that when you're in a spot like this, the numbers could translate to being a 3 or 4 or 5 hitter. He has hit the last 3 years with runners in scoring position .331, which is 5th best in Major League Baseball.
That was La Russa's thinking behind hitting the pitcher 8th, was you're only a leadoff hitter once. And everybody's important when the lineup starts to turn over. If you can get a guy in front of him the second time around, or even just a perfect example of Colton getting on base, hitting a double, Adam moving him over. You can't stress enough how important it is to get a runner on third base with one out and giving the hitter just a chance to hit a fly ball to drive in a run.
Now a 1-1 pitch. Carpenter struck out looking his first time up. Matt Boyd has struck out 3 so far. I know there's been a lot of talk about Wong as the leadoff man or Carpenter. I'm not sure how you could mess with Matt Carpenter as your leadoff man with the kind of numbers that he puts up.
I was going to say it would be very easy to throw him in the 2 or 3 spot with the type of hitter he is, but you can't fool with those numbers.
No. Been great in this spot.
It's shocking to me the difference between 1 and 2 or 1 and 3 for him, because you just think it's just another spot in the order.
When he hits first in the lineup, at least a year ago, hit .312 with 22 home runs. On base percentage was .389. He hit number 2 in 69 games, so they did try it, but only hit .225.
It's crazy.
It is. He's too good of a hitter to where you could put him anywhere in the lineup. He's going to put up numbers. The 2-2. Pulled foul.
See a lot of guys with that, though. You'll see their splits are just different. And, I tried, when I was with the Angels, I let off a few times, and I didn't know what to do. I thought I would just go out there and ambush the first pitch. I think I popped it up like 4 days in a row, and I thought, okay, I got to come up with another plan. But, gosh, you think if you're a hitter as a lefty against a righty, you get the first pitch fastball of the game, you're going to kill it. Doesn't work out that way.
2-2 is swung on and missed, held on to by Holiday. And Carpenter strikes out for the second time. Don't forget, opening day of the regular season. It's coming up. It's very close now as we Head down the home stretch of spring training. We'll have that game for you on Fox Sports Midwest. A 2-hour pregame show starting at 10 a.m. First pitch, noon St. Louis time. Opening day on Fox Sports Midwest. Here's Tommy Pham.
You see Matt Boyd just throwing the kitchen sink at these guys with scoring runners in scoring position. Smart. I mean, it's spring training, but you're working on something. He's working on keeping these guys from scoring.
1-0 pitch. Taken inside. 2 balls, no strikes. Pham has had a solid spring. And I think all the Cardinals want to see is that he comes away healthy. Right now, you'd pencil him in to get your 4th outfielder spot. He's versatile. He's in center field today. Hit to the left side. Castellanos, who's been busy today. Cardinals miss a very good opportunity to put one up on the board here in the 3rd as Matt Boyd pitches out of trouble. We head to the 4th. It's 1-0 Detroit on Fox Sports Midwest. That Sunday NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing heads to Fontana with the Auto Club 400 on Fox. Brad Keselowski looks to defend his title from last year. Sunday at 2, only on Fox and streaming live on Fox Sports Go.
I got invited to that, by the way.
Are you going to go?
No, I told him it was much more important that I learn how to do my job here. I was working.
Who invited you?
I have some friends in the NASCAR family.
Are you a NASCAR guy?
I like it. It's interesting. I think it's fun to watch. It's I don't know. Some people don't like it. I like it. I don't love it. And I would love to be able to race. I think that's one of the coolest things to see.
Have you been in a car?
Yes. Yes, I got up to 178 miles an hour around the Fontana track.
Who was driving?
Me.
Oh, you were driving.
Yeah.
Really?
I was waiting for that question. I was hanging on. No, it was fun. I think when they first opened Fontana, we did a media day or a press day, and they invited a couple guys from the Angels out. I think it was Percival and I. Leanne Rimes was out there, a couple other people, and they let us follow a driver around, and the closer you got to the driver, the faster the driver would go, and I was just stepping on it, and it was a lot of fun.
Castellanos lines it to his counterpart at 3rd. Matt Carpenter for the first out here in the 4th. Better you than me.
I love it.
I've been in the pits for Indy, and I've been in the pits for NASCAR and Busch Series. It's amazing how loud it is, how powerful the machines are, and the guts of the drivers.
And how fast.
Oh,
everything's moving.
You know, you use the term blink of an eye. It literally is a blink of an eye. They make that turn around the corner, and they're there. Base hit by Tyler Collins. He's 2 for 2.
We got it actually last year. We went to Fontana. My wife got invited out because of her situation, and we had all access. It was great. They let us go in the pits. They let us up in a suite, and we were standing in a booth similar to this with the windows closed, and I went up on the roof because I wanted to hear it and feel it, and we were right on top of the pits, and I chose to stand out in the heat versus sitting in an air conditioning room just because I wanted to hear and feel the speed. And it is something to see. I'm telling you, if you haven't seen a NASCAR event, get a chance to go. Take that chance. It's an experience.
There's Casey McGee. Runner goes. Molina fires to second and save. A stolen base for Collins. So they have stolen 2 bases now against the Cardinals here this afternoon. The other by Iglesias back in the first. Just beat the tag. Good call. And you want to do that with Casey McGee up. He hits into a ton of double plays. But 2 years ago, he was one of the top hitters in all of baseball with runners in scoring position. You had a chance to play with Casey back in Milwaukee.
And the reason why he does drive in so many runs is because he's great with, like I said, keeping his hands inside the ball, hitting the ball to right field. And he's one of those guys that can hit breaking balls. Pitchers have a tendency to throw a lot of off-speed stuff with guys in scoring position. You're a guy that can hit a breaking ball, you're going to get pitches to hit with men in scoring position. And that's something, I think that's another reason why Carpenter does so well with guys in scoring position. A guy like Albert Pujols, a guy like Cabrera. You got to be able to hit the off-speed pitch to be successful in that situation.
2 balls, 1 strike. Runner at second base. A 1-run lead for Detroit. McGee is now 33 years of age. Career .259 hitter. He has bounced around in his pro career. Whether playing in the States or over in Japan, that really resurrected his career. He's been with the Cubs, the Brewers, the Pirates, the Yankees, Marlins twice, and the Giants, and now with Detroit. The 2-2. Up the middle, and that's a base hit. Will they test Pham? No throw by Tommy, and that throw is offline as he hesitated to get that ball in. I'm not sure if he was waiting for the cut, but the hesitation allows Collins to score easily, and it's 2-0.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell what was going on there. I was trying to watch too many things. Didn't look like Tommy. I don't know if he's not throwing the ball home here. Oh, the ball jumped up on him in the outfield. He didn't get a handle on it at all. You can see, we talked about that field, the ball bouncing up and in the different cuts of the grass, and kind of handcuffed him a little bit. Didn't have a chance to throw the ball, throw the runner out at home. So,
and with that, it makes it 2-0. Here's Brian Holiday. Hit into a fielder's choice, first time up.
Once again, you talk about the speed of the game. You see what happens. You get handcuffed. You don't get a feel of the ball, and all of a sudden your mind starts racing. Guys are running around the base. You don't have a good grip on the ball. First baseman's coming over for a cutoff man. Everything's going through your mind. You just want to get the ball out of your hands. Sometimes that turns into a poor throw. What you saw right there, just don't get the seams and throw a ball that really cuts across the infield as you let it go. It's just watching the game at home, you think it's a slow game. It's boring. But when you're out there on the field, the game goes by really quick when people are in motion.
There's an 0-1 pitch. Popped up to the right side. Adams will give it a look, and it's out of play. Tyler Lyons is getting loose in the Cardinals' pen. So we'll see him throw today. He is out of options, so either he breaks with the club or he'll be pitching somewhere else. You would think he would be an option for the Cardinals in their pen.
He's got great stuff. I mean,
sure does. 0-2 pitch. Shallow left field. Coming over to get it, it's Tommy Pham. So Holiday is out number 2, and it brings in John Mayberry Jr. Teams have been intrigued with Mayberry Jr. just because recent history, he has really hit left-handed pitching well. So he gives you an option to come off the bench, face that lefty, and do some damage.
And his body, look at his athletic,
yes,
tall, lanky, strong. It's like a presence in the box.
They are dealing with an injury right now. The first at bat for Cameron Maybin this spring was hit on the wrist, and he's out 4 to 6 weeks. So bench spots, you're looking at Ghosts, who played against the Cardinals yesterday. They signed Justin Upton in the offseason. Mike Aviles, Andrew Romine. That's pulled foul. .62 pitches right now. You wonder if this would be it for Adam Wainwright. As you mentioned in the open, you're looking at roughly 70 to 80.
This is when it starts getting tough and you've thrown more pitches than you've thrown all year.
Jed Jerko deep in the hole at short makes the play. Midway through 4, it'll be Holiday, Jerko, Adams coming up. The big slugger leads it off for St. Louis when we come back. Right, and there are 6 great games during this upcoming season when the Cardinals are giving away replica jerseys. Get tickets to all these game dates through the 10-game jersey pack or buy them as a single game ticket. On sale now at Cardinals.com. First of those jersey giveaways is Sunday, April 17th. The Molina jersey. That'll be against the Cincinnati Reds. Here's Matt Holliday, who singled to left. First Cardinals hit today. St. Louis with 2, the other a double by Colton Wong. Matt also took a home run away out in left field back in the 3rd. The catch over the wall. 13th Major League season, 7-time All-Star Matt Holliday. Just wonder at this point in spring training if he says, man, can we just go north and start playing? Couple of hops to 3rd. Castellanos, 1 away.
When you work out like him, when you come to camp in shape, makes spring training a lot longer. He looked good from opening day here and swinging the bat well and running well. And other than working on some first base, and sure guys like that, well, I know guys like that ready to get to opening day.
Here's Jed Jerko and a breaking ball. Drops in for a strike. You just wonder right now if it was opening day. Is Jerko your opening day shortstop? Is Aledmus Diaz, as that's pulled past Chris Maloney? And Jerko broke his bat. Are the Cardinals going to search outside the organization? Yeah, you're getting to that point in time where those decisions hit crunch time. Start thinking, okay, we got to get a guy in here, or do we have what we need in uniform right now?
Well, the good news is you got guys that can go out there and play right now, and you really don't have to make the decision yet. And I'm sure that whoever is in the running to be the starting shortstop is going to get a lot of playing time, and there's going to be a few of them getting a lot of playing time for the next couple weeks.
It's 5 strikeouts now for Matt Boyd. I mentioned that Chris Maloney is down at third. He's coaching at third base, normally occupied by Jose Oquendo, and you had a chance to visit with Jose before the game.
No, actually, what I was trying to tell you, but we were on the air, is because Hammer's at third. I think Mr. Oquendo went back to have a look at his knee, and I believe that he might have had something, some procedure. He's had some knee trouble lately, and I think being the constant professional that he is, he wanted to get something taken care of, getting his knees taken care of before the season started, because he is a huge part of this organization and this team.
So it's not only the players getting healthy, we need the coaching staff too.
Yeah, making a smart call maybe by getting it taken care of early. But I'll tell you what, these coaches, they work like no other, and I don't know if there's a more important person in this organization or for this team in the last 10-15 years than Jose Oquendo.
Longest tenured third base coach, and has done just great work with guys like Matt Adams, who's a converted catcher now playing first base, or whether it be Matt Holliday, the middle infield. Here's a 1-2 to Adams.
He's one of those guys that when he's talking, I make it a point to listen, because I learn something new every day, even if it's with the middle infielders or the first baseman or the third baseman. It's something that I think that I can take away someday and teach my son or somebody else's kids, or even another player somewhere at any level. But the old E.F. Hutton, when he's talking, everyone should be listening.
He was telling me before, too, that George Kissel was instrumental in helping him try to explain the game. Dave Ricketts as well. 2-2. Their prints are all over this organization in various areas, whether it be Mike Matheny with catching with Dave Ricketts. It's incredible. Just, you know, you hear the Cardinal way, and I know that a lot of people hear it and they go, okay, they roll their eyes, but there is something to the tradition of these coaches and what they've done over the years and pass that down. Well, he could have been called out twice in that at bat, but he'll take the walk.
I mean, here you go, right against the shift going back. But he even, just listening to him talk about how to short hop a ball and how, if it's backhanded, how you get your thumb underneath it and push away from your body to go out and get the ball. And if it's on your other side, you kind of roll with it. Just the littlest things are just so important, and they're just not taught at every level. And just still teaching that at the big league level, it's so interesting to listen to.
Here's Yadier Molina, off speed pitch, swung on and missed. He grounded out first time. Occasionally we'll bring up the name of Mike Schilt, who is the manager at AAA Memphis, and I know that you've forged a relationship with Mike in terms of just, you know, he's kind of like the next George Kissel. He's been around for a long time, teaches the game properly.
You would think that they send everyone to a class, that one guy is standing up there teaching everyone the exact same thing, because this organization is on such the same page and such a great program to just be taught by the, you know, top to bottom. Everyone's teaching the same thing, and I'm sitting in the locker room as a coach helping out and hearing just the chatter from coach to coach to coach, from AA, AAA, the big leagues. They're always talking something about baseball and how to teach it better.
Well, you bring up a great point, because you hear in different organizations where it can be a little disjointed in terms of what, you know, single A guys teaching as opposed to what they want to have happen once they get here.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, a lot of guys like to teach their own way. And when they break off and go off to the season, say in AA or AAA, they might change their philosophy and teach their way. But here it seems like, you know, they have a lot of meetings, they talk a lot. The guys are in there making sure that they're teaching the way they're taught in the big leagues. How does Mike want this person to be taught? How does Mo want his coaches to talk to certain players? How are the hitting coaches relaying certain things? And everybody's just, it's kind of like a big funnel going right to the top. And everyone has to be in that order in order to make this organization successful.
1-2 the count on Yadier Molina.
And that's the way it should be. I think a lot of organizations I've been in, you see a couple guys pulling at different angles, and you can see it be very easy for the minor league to be separated from the big leagues. but not here. I think that, like I said, I think it starts with the DeWitts and Mo and all the way down. I think everyone wants the same thing.
Yanni puts it in play, and a ground ball to short. Force play at second, and we have played 4. Will we see Adam Wainwright for one more inning? We're about to find out. It's 2-0. Detroit on top. The Tigers have the lead in the top of the 5th, 2-0. A few moments ago, I'll ask you, do players feed off of this when you see a veteran, an ace, a leader, all of a sudden he grabs his hat, grabs that glove, and he sprints out to the mound? You feed off the little things like that?
Well, you notice it. I mean, sad to say that most of the guys aren't watching him at that point. They're out there playing catch or doing whatever, but you notice it, you see it. And I think it's more important that he's doing it down 2-0, or that he does it every day and not when he's up 2-0. Or he's he's got 6 strikeouts in 4 innings.
A fly ball out to right, going back to make the catch. Brandon Moss, and Ian Kinsler is 0 for 3.
I think a lot of people pay attention, or more attention, to how you act when you're struggling or when you're losing. When your team's down, what kind of leader are you going to be that day, not when everything's going easy.
Jose Iglesias had an infield base hit back in the 1st. Stole the first of 2 bases by Detroit today and struck out in the 3rd. Looks at a strike as Tyler Lyons continues to throw in the pen.
Sorry.
Jimmy just spit in his microphone because there's a bug in here.
I wasn't spitting, but I was blowing him away.
Down into the Detroit bullpen, and that'll be a double for Iglesias. 2 for 3.
Every now and then you forget there's a microphone stuck to the side of your face.
Well, as long as you don't say the wrong thing.
It's better to blow into the mic, get the bug away, than it is to say the wrong, inappropriate word.
You're catching on quick.
Apparently not quick enough, because I'm still blowing bugs out of my face with the microphone on.
Hey, it's not as windy today, though. We're able to at least keep our notes here.
Closed our door, too. It's making it even hotter in here.
It'll be a pinch runner, it looks like, out at second base. So the day is through for Iglesias, and here's Miguel Cabrera. Nope, they're going to say it's still Iglesias. It is. He just flipped some of his protective gear away.
It's probably just got distracted by the conversation that we were just having. The inappropriate conversation.
There's a breaking ball taken low. This is pretty amazing. If you look at the career numbers, and OPS is such a big stat now in baseball. Number 1 on that list is Babe Ruth.
Really?
Number 16 is Miguel Cabrera, all time in baseball history. Here are some of the names that are ahead of him: Ted Williams, Lou Gehrig, Jimmy Fox, Hank Greenberg, Hornsby, Manny Ramirez, McGuire, Pujols, Mantle, DiMaggio, Stan the Man, Frank Thomas, Larry Walker, and then Miguel Cabrera. I mean, how about that? He's just an incredible player.
You ever think how amazing it is that every time you go over a list like that, the same 10 guys are at the top?
Yeah.
It's like, let's just get to the number 11th guy because the same 10 are always the same.
Babe.
Starts with the guy named Babe.
Yep. 2-2 on Cabrera, who is walked and also lined out to right. And swings and misses. So 3 strikeouts for Adam Wainwright. That looks like that's going to be it for Adam, as his pitch count is at 70. And Mike Matheny will bring in Tyler Lyons, who had been up and throwing for the second time in the bullpen. So we'll step aside. Tyler Lyons will come in from the pen. Nice round of applause for the Cardinals ace.
My grandfather.
As he finishes up at 4 2/3, gave up 6 hits, struck out 3. He's responsible for Iglesias at second base. Jim Edmonds, what did you see out of Adam Wainwright today?
Well, I think he's going to be the first to tell you he didn't have his best stuff, but I thought he threw the ball well. I mean, I think that good breaking ball, threw a couple of really good sliders. His fastball he didn't locate his fastball that well, but you can see he did what he does every time he goes out on the field. He keeps his team in the game, and be curious to see what he says after the game today. But I'm going to say he's not his best performance, obviously, but that is above average, to say the least, and just fun to watch him pitch.
J.D. Martinez, a 0-1 by Lyons. This could be the role that Tyler Lyons sees himself fitting into in the Cardinals' pen. You could see him in middle relief. Long man, he might be able to get that one lefty if he needed to. You know, you think about Segrist, and Mike Matheny has talked about it. He doesn't necessarily look at Kevin as being a lefty, if you will, even though he is, because he can get left-handers and right-handers out, and Lyons could be your guy to get that tough lefty. And also give you innings, too.
Yeah, I was going to say, in the innings part would be key for him. Guy that you can use when you need him, but also use if a starter comes out of the game early or you need a spot start. You got a double header and eat up innings, like you said. It's nice to have a guy that's can go on both sides, be versatile as far as his role, and that's something that I think, just from being around, that they're still looking for, because they do have a lot of guys in that bullpen that are really set in their roles, and there's not a whole lot of guys down there right now that you can really stretch out. You're always looking for that one guy that you can use to be, stretched through the 5th, 6th, 7th inning area where, you got a lot of your main guys, so to speak, are from 7 on.
Tyler has got all kinds of talent. When he was here at Palm Beach, threw the first no-hitter in their franchise history, Cardinals minor league system. 1 ball and 2 strikes on J.D. Martinez. 3rd consecutive year in 2015 that we saw this left-hander split time between AAA Memphis and St. Louis. Made 16 starts at Memphis. And a real key start for the Cardinals against the Pirates to wrap up the division a year ago in Game 2 of a doubleheader. Went 7 innings in that game and was outstanding. They've always felt he's got very good stuff. Always.
He does have really good stuff, and it's just putting it together day in and day out.
A strikeout to end the threat here in the top of the 5th.
Good slider right there.
It sure was. Be Moss, Wong, and the pitcher spot coming up for St. Louis, down by 2.
Cash flow is the
bottom of 5 rolls in, and you can celebrate Busch Stadium's 10-year anniversary through the pages of the new Post-Dispatch book, Busch Stadium, A Decade of Excellence. Put together by Rick Hummel and Derek Gould. Busch Stadium, A Decade of Excellence. Get it now at stltoday.com/BuschBook. And there's a ball to Brandon Moss as we're underway here in the bottom of 5, along with Jim Edmonds, the Cardinals Hall of Famer. I'm Dan McLaughlin. Mike Helling is with us as well. I think you'd have to come away, if you're looking at it from the Detroit perspective, you'd be very pleased with what you've seen from Matt Boyd. He's pitched quite well.
He's throwing the ball really well. He's mixing every one of his pitches in. He's got a good changeup. You know what, the key to that too is when he's throwing his fastball, he's throwing it on the corners. He's not throwing his fastball down the middle. And then you think you get a fastball down the middle, and it's that changeup. You've seen some swings and misses and some balls hit off the end of the bat, but crafty lefty. I mean, just not overpowering, but throws strikes and uses all of his pitches.
Came over from the Blue Jays, and that was a part of the big David Price deal. They had some big trades at the deadline a year ago, as Moss skies one into shallow right field against the shift, and this is J.D. Martinez, and he'll make the catch. At David Price, Joaquin Soria was traded away, Yoenis Cespedes, and by making those deals, it helped retool their farm system. Some around the game are just trying to figure out, are the Tigers rebuilding? Can they compete this year? Still have the very good core of Cabrera and Verlander, Martinez, Kinsler, signed Jordan Zimmerman, added Francisco Rodriguez, K-Rod.
Maybe Doc, keep it in front.
Colton Wong, first time up, doubled inside the right field line. Quickly, no balls and 2 strikes.
Only 58 pitches so far for Matt Boyd. He's been very efficient.
0-2 pitch. Wong was hit 13 times last year. You see that with lefty-lefty matchups because you're trying to hang in there against a breaking ball. And all of a sudden it doesn't break and it hits you. There's that curveball again, tapped foul.
Yeah, that's something that as a hitter you just want to get your hands out of the way. You know, you don't want the ball by your hands or your wrists. You take it in the shoulder, take it in the back. But your hands and wrists are so important. You have to be able to get them out of the way and turn your back on the ball. One of those stats you don't want to be leading at the end of the year is hit by pitches. Good swing right there.
I wonder if Colton is going to just really, now that he has a contract under his belt, financial security, just settles in and plays relaxed. At times he's really hard on himself. You've seen that, Jimmy. I mean, he'll make an error and it carries over to an at-bat or a game. So much talent. But you get that contract and all of a sudden you have security.
Yeah, but sometimes that's what drives players, is the way they play the game and being so hard on themselves and just trying to be a perfectionist. And I think you're not the same player if you don't play that way.
That swung on and missed, and 6 strikeouts for Matt Boyd. With the pitcher coming up, they're going to keep Boyd in this game with 64 pitches.
Another slider, just moving the ball around, using everything. I mean, he's thrown the kitchen sink, so to speak, up there today, and they're all good pitches, all for strikes.
And the 0-1 pitch to Tyler Lyons. 1 ball, 1 strike. So the Cardinals want to see Lyons get an inning or 2 of work in this game today. Cardinals not using the DH. 1-2 the count. He may finish his day with 7 strikeouts. 1 strike away from doing that. Right-hander is loose in the pen for Detroit. The 2-2. Hey, you got a piece of it.
As opposed to
back out on the mound.
The first 2 swings.
Right.
That's funny. It's like even just these guys going out, these pitchers, they don't have a whole lot of at bats, and you see what we're talking about between cheating and letting the ball get deep.
Different story.
Looking for a fastball, don't get a fastball, and you're already starting to swing. Not as easy as it looks.
7 strikeouts for Matt Boyd. three championship ring giveaways. The 26, 46 World Championship rings and a mystery player from the 2006 World Championship rings. Secure your tickets through the 5-game ring pack or as an individual ticket. On sale now at Cardinals.com. Our friend Joe Strom, the VP of ticket sales for the Cardinals, was just in our booth and said that they have sold already 2.7 million tickets. Opening day, there are still seats available. And then that first weekend, a bunch of giveaways. Stadium giveaway, Adam Wainwright bobblehead, Yadier Molina jersey, and there's good tickets for those 3 games that opening weekend against Cincinnati. And it looks like, we just saw Michael Wacha in that dugout, it looks like Wacha would get the home opener with Wainwright getting the start on the road to open up the season. And if things go to plan, they're not going to skip a 5th starter to begin the year. They're going to keep everybody in line in rotation, and Wacha then would get the home opener. We're still a ways away, though. Nick Castellanos.
I was going to say, a lot of things can happen.
Oh, yeah. Lyons came in with a runner at second base and 2 outs, picked up a strikeout. That was in the 5th. Adam Wainwright went 4 2/3, 6 hits, couple of runs, struck out 3, walked 1. That was Miguel Cabrera. 2-0 lead for Detroit. The 1-1. This place is packed here today. Warm afternoon here in Jupiter, Florida. Standing room only. Isn't it amazing how spring training across the board in Major League Baseball in terms of interest and attendance has really picked up in the last 10 or 15 years?
Yeah, I think
it's incredible.
Well, you know, it's funny to hear the fans say how close they can feel to the players being in a game like this, as opposed to a lot of these people maybe don't go. With selling 2.7 million tickets already, some of these people that maybe don't buy tickets ahead of time don't get that close, and I think they can feel like they're a little closer to the players. I was shocked to see that they took away the berm down in right field where the kids used to play, but they have another section down there where people can sit comfortably. I just think it's when can you get away from the cold? You know, you get people in Detroit, people in St. Louis. Even though it's not snowing, it's still not 85 degrees, and the ocean's right down the street. It's just a great facility, great atmosphere, and it's mellow. You know, you're not getting pushed around. There's not 40,000 people rushing home from work and trying to rush through the gates, and parking situation gets, you know, I always found it interesting, even like going to a hockey game, the 7 o'clock game, the average fan is coming home from work, having to grab some food, shower, change, whatever and then rush down to the stadium. It's a lot. It's a lot for me, and I don't have a job half the time, so I feel sorry for these people. But like I said, coming down here is just so nice. You're out in the middle of the day, the wind's blowing, you get some sun. Time of the year where it's cold everywhere around the country.
Families make a day of it too, because you mentioned how laid back it is. You can go on the back fields, and many times you'll see the major leaguers taking BP, or maybe a guy's throwing a side session, and you're literally 10 feet away from him, watching Adam Wainwright throw, watching Jim Edmonds playing catch.
Right in the middle of practice.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And the players interact with the fans. Yeah, I always say, if you have the chance, if you're a fan and have the chance to come down here and do it, make the full day experience. You know, come to the game, but get here early, watch batting practice, go on the back fields, and guys are signing autographs.
Well, I mean, think about it. The game's over. You've got hundreds of restaurants. You're how far away from the ocean? A mile and a half?
Yep.
You go up there where the lighthouse is. You can get out. You can take a boat out into the ocean, going fishing. It's only 10, 15 minutes away from here. I mean, there's just so many things to do down here that you can enjoy while you're watching baseball.
Collins pops it up after the base hit by Castellanos. Shading from the sun, Jed Jerko, and makes the catch. And the players are relaxed too. I mean, a situation where when you talk to a player, and I know fans don't like to hear it, players are paid very well to do what they do, but it's a job. And the competition for these guys, you played a number of years. Every year there's somebody trying to get your job. So that's in the back of your mind. You're trying to produce and put up numbers. So regular season play, there's the pressure of that for an individual player. Down here, it's about trying to just get loose, get tuned up, get ready. Players are more relaxed, and you can understand why.
And the grind every day with the win-loss record during the season is so much more intense. And every game's on TV. Every game's got Sports Center following it. Every day, you know, somebody's paying attention to something. And like I said, the win-loss column is so important during the season. They talk about it over and over and over. Every win you get is just that much closer to the playoffs. It just gets tougher when the season starts.
And a check on the run rate first. That's Castellanos. This is Casey McGee. He's 2 for 2 with an RBI. Signed a minor league deal. And this is the 2014 Comeback Player of the Year. Spent a year over in Japan, put up good numbers. Signed with Miami. Should have been an all-star that year. He was on the final ballot, did not get voted in.
I think the other thing you talk about the players being relaxed. Think about this. They spend 6 weeks down here. No transferring hotel to hotel. No plane flight. I mean, that's part of the rat race, too, is every week you're traveling. And then when you're on the road, you're in 3 cities in a week. And planes and luggage. And it just doesn't stop. It's relentless during the season. I don't think people really understand how much and how fast everything goes day to day. Come home to your family. You're home for what, 6 days, 7 days, and you're gone again. Here, kind of settled. You have a routine. You're up early every day. A little bit more relaxed.
1-2 pitch to McGee. Breaking ball, late break too. What a pitch by Tyler Lyons. That really is his signature pitch right there.
Good sharp slider. It's so tight. Comes out of his hand, looks like a fastball away, and just kind of jumps back over the plate. That's actually a better breaking ball right there. Not much of a sharp slider, but hard to see from up here. But just, he's one of those guys, his ball just goes in different directions. Fastball can cut, run, sink, can jump up in the zone. Good off-speed stuff.
There's Holiday and a ground ball hit left side. There's Carpenter, force play at second. That sends us to the bottom of the 6th. And St. Louis, well, the top of the lineup coming up, trailing 2-0. The Tigers with a lead over St. Louis. Reminder that Edward Jones, honored to sponsor the St. Louis Cardinals Hall of Fame and the annual induction process that gives fans a voice in honoring the team's greatest players. Find the 8-man ballot on Cardinals.com/HOF. Make your selection for the 2 most deserving legends that will go in to the Cardinals Hall of Fame. Vote now at cardinals.com/HOF. Carpenter is 0 for 2 with a pair of strikeouts. New pitcher in is Jose Valdez. Spent the majority of the season last year with their AAA affiliate in Toledo. Did appear in 7 games with the Tigers. He was 0-1 with a 4 ERA in 9 innings. This has been the Achilles heel of Detroit. Has been their bullpen. They've tried all kinds of different closers. They've tried different setup men. And they have a new general manager in Al Avila. He's retooled their bullpen. Went out and signed Jordan Zimmerman. Their collective ERA, the pitching last year, was 28th in baseball, 4.64 for Detroit. So they've added Francisco Rodriguez, 386 career saves. Mark Lowe kind of flew under the radar after a tremendous season with Seattle. Justin Wilson, former Yankee.
That's something that they always had back a couple years back, was they had it all. They had a bullpen to go with that starting rotation, and it's hard to win games and you can't close them out.
Fly ball lifted out to left. John Mayberry Jr. puts it away. Carpenter is 0 for 3 today. You know, it's one of the big stories right now in baseball, and if you haven't heard about it, Adam LaRoche retiring, foregoing $13 million in guaranteed in salary. And the basic idea of this story is that he had his son with him at all times. Son actually even had a locker inside the clubhouse, and he was approached to remove his son at times, and he didn't want to do it. He said, "I've made enough money. I'm out of here." Some of the players apparently with the White Sox are torn with this. They liked LaRoche. They liked his son. Didn't think it was a big deal. Other guys felt, well, this is my office. This is where I make my living. I don't want your son here.
It's a lot of stories.
Yeah.
To be told.
I mean, you
spend a lot of time with the kids.
Well, think about
I'm an outfielder. That's where they all send their kids. The Matheny boys,
they're all
out there all the time. The Eldred kids, they would come out to the outfield. I loved it. They were never in the way, but they weren't here every day. There's a line. There's a fine line to how much you bring your family around. You know, part of it is guys are jealous because their kids aren't old enough or can't be there, or they feel like they can't speak the way you would speak in a locker room. There's a lot of things to be said about this situation. The bad thing is we'll never really know the answers. So Adam LaRoche was a great player. He's a friend of Adam Wainwright's. You know, I hate to see someone have to retire because of this situation, but then on the other hand, he gets to make his decision and live with it. So if that's what he wants to do, then more power to you.
Let's face it, inside a major league clubhouse or NBA locker room, inside a hockey locker room, a dressing room, it's probably not G-rated. There's going to be some stories.
Not even close to being G-rated anymore.
There's going to be some frustrating moments, and I'm sure some guys felt like I can't express myself if I have a kid here, and I don't want to embarrass myself in front of that kid.
Exactly, and everyone's got a pregame routine, and everyone's pregame routine is different. You see pitchers sitting in the corner of a locker, corner of a clubhouse, behind a closed door, hiding in the training room. Other guys breaking stuff, throwing stuff, screaming. I mean, you never know what you're going to see when you go into a locker room, and I'm sure that gets to be a touchy situation when you have, 10 and 12 and 14-year-old kids around. And we had a situation in Anaheim when I first came up that 3 or 4 of us had girls first, and there were girls in the locker room every day. At what age do you have to say, okay, it's the guys,
sure,
they stop bringing your kids around? I mean, they were little bitty at the time, but they get old enough to understand what's going on, and you don't want your daughter running around inside the clubhouse. But it's weird. Every situation presents itself differently, and I thought it was fun. 3 or 4 of us had girls, and until they got to be about 4 or 5, they run around the locker room after games, and man, no any different. My daughter doesn't even remember it. So I mean, each team is going to be different, but there's an untold story somewhere with the Chicago situation, and hopefully it's not something that's, I guess, disruptive to the team.
I believe they called a balk on that pitch. So the count is 1 ball, 1 strike. So that foul ball is a dead ball, not ruled a strike, and 1-1 is the count. And Pham now is in scoring position. Holiday is 1 for 2 today. Landon, by the way, your son, he is allowed inside our booth at any point in time. All family members, come on in.
I'm okay with it. I think as long as
it's great.
I think as a player or an adult, I'm just going out on a limb and saying it's your responsibility to teach your kids what's right and wrong. If you're going to bring your son or daughter into a workplace, they have to know how to act, and that's something that I learned from other players as I got older. How I observed how other guys, brought their kids in and how they treated them and what they were expected to do and say. And I remember the Matheny kids and the Eldred kids, and I always remember Mike and Cal saying, "Be seen and not heard," or just basically sit over there and don't move. This is a privilege, and so it's up to you as a parent to basically keep your child out of other people's way.
One of our friends, and we really like him, Eduardo Perez, he's going to be working on the games with the Marlins this year. Matter of fact, I think I'm doing a game with him coming up. But his dad, of course, the Hall of Famer, was part of the Big Red Machine. And the rule was that those kids, so Eduardo Perez, Ed Sprague, Griffey, Aaron Boone was around, they were not allowed in the clubhouse after a loss. If the team won, Sparky Anderson said you can bring your kids in. If they lost, they have to go sit with the family section, wherever that may be.
And that's pretty normal, too.
Yeah.
But he told me a lot of stories that they basically turned them loose during the game, and they found every little crevice underneath those stadiums that they could. And I don't know. I'd rather have my kid in the locker room where someone could watch him. But some great stories from Eduardo over the years. Just
what a good guy.
Oh, he's the best.
3-2. Eduardo has worked in television, and he was a coach for a while. And now back to TV with the Marlins. 3-2 the count, and Holiday may hit his first home run right here. Or he may just pop it up.
I like the call, though.
Sometimes you got to go out on a limb, Jimmy. I mean,
he went deep out of the limb with him.
So Holiday pops out, 2 away, and it brings in Jed Jerko, who may hit his first home run of the year.
You got how many more players you got to call? 3.5 innings left.
So you come out,
do the math.
Then you make one call and it works.
And you're a hero.
You're a genius. I've had a few, though. I've gone out on the limb in the last couple of years and said, here comes a home run. The guy hits it, and
I like it.
I also had a couple players where I was down at BP and I held their bat and I said, this is a home run tonight, and they hit a home run. Then they'd come looking for me the next day.
Yeah, you're in trouble then. They're looking for you every day. Then if it doesn't work the next day, they're looking for you the third day and say, hey, it didn't work yesterday, I'm going to try it again now.
Right.
You'll have to be on batting practice for the rest of the year.
Jerko a little late with that swing. He is flied to right and also struck out. 0 for 2 today. Cardinals with Jonathan Broxton getting loose in the pen. And Jerko strikes out. So I guess we'll have to wait for that home run. We head to the 7th, and it's 2-0 Detroit.
South
ways to offer fan-friendly values throughout this season. If you're looking for ways to save some cash or find a great value at the ballpark, make sure to check out the Fan Value Corner at Cardinals.com/values. That's like the Six Flags double play combo. You got Hunter Family Sundays. Fill up at Phillips 66. Great ways to take in the game. Here's Jonathan Broxton. Jacob Wilson is your new third baseman. Peguero takes over in left field. Cardinals have been out hit 7-2 in this game. They trailed 2-0.
Well, yeah, I forgot that he was going back and you were staying.
Start that began with Adam Wainwright, 4 2/3, 6 hits, a couple of runs, struck out 3. Mayberry is 0 for 2. A couple of ground outs. No game for us on TV tomorrow. We're back at it on Sunday with Miami. But there is Blues hockey tomorrow from Vancouver on Fox Sports Midwest. You were always close with those hockey guys. It was a good mutual admiration society.
Yeah, it was. I think maybe the schedule was perfect. You know, if you're still around in the wintertime, you got hockey, and some of those guys stay in town during the summer. I like to see the Blues start off a little slow this year, and I turned on the TV the other day and they were talking how they were like in the top spot.
Oh yeah.
Again, I mean, it's kind of so funny to listen to the fan base. Everyone's worried that they're not the best team in the league, and I always say you gotta wait till the end of the year. It doesn't matter right now.
Well, Jimmy, all due respect, you haven't been a Blues fan long enough to go through the heartache. We've had a lot of heartache with the Blues.
I understand that. I've been here 16 years now.
There's been a lot of heartache in 16 years.
It's not heartache for me. I don't think people realize how hard it is to win.
Jacob Wilson with a high throw. The stretch by Adams. He's off the bag. Tough play. That'll be a base hit for Mayberry Jr.
Just did a thing with Dave Backus not too long ago. He's got a foundation for animals, stray rescues. It's great. And I got a phone call from David Backus, and he says, this is, he says who he is and got your number from so-and-so, and would you be interested? And I said, sure.
Absolutely.
Before he even finished the sentence, I was just like, of course. Whatever you need. I remember I was in a cab in New York City, driving across the bridge going into the city and talking to him on the phone, and I said, if I'm in town, you got it, whatever you need. Just one of those things you do, I think, is when you're an athlete in that city, you have to support each other.
You said something that I think stands out in relation to both the Blues and the Cardinals is that, man, it is hard to win. And this franchise, specifically the Cardinals, has won time and again. I mean, over 6 months, long season. There's a double play ball. Wilson stays with it. Out at second.
Gotta love that hot.
Ah, yeah. They turn the double play. Kinsler 0 for 4. Nice play by Wilson. Stays with it.
Planned that perfectly. Backhand. Stays with it. Ball actually hits off the heel of his glove or hand and pops right up to him. And like I said, game's moving fast. He grabs it with his bare hand and throws a strike to second base and on to first for the double play. It's the little things you watch day in and day out on this field will just surprise you and put you in awe at the same time.
That was Dean Anna with the turn. And Kinsler is a speedy guy. I mean, Kinsler is a former 30-30 man. There's only 12 in Major League history that have done that. He's done it twice. Here's Dixon Machado. But winning on an every-year basis. And the expectations are that the Cardinals will be in contention again this year. This isn't like, well, are they close or do they need that piece or this? No, it's
you
this
don't
team
have time
should be
for
there.
that, huh?
No. And with that come expectations, too.
Well, and that's the thing the Blues got involved with. They start winning. You know, they go into the playoffs every year, and people just think, oh, you throw your team on the ice, you're going to win a Stanley Cup. If you go to the playoffs 3 or 4 years in a row, you should be the champion. It's not that easy.
1 ball, 2 strikes.
That hockey playoff is long.
Oof. It's probably the most grueling championship to win.
By far the best sporting event to watch.
Playoff hockey?
Playoff hockey.
Love it.
Even on, people don't watch hockey because they don't like it on TV. Playoff hockey, it is, all the intensity comes right through the tube.
3-2 with 2 outs, nobody on. Get a ticket, get close to the ice.
That's how I became a fan.
Oh,
watched
the speed.
I watched it a little bit growing up. Growing up in Southern California, not a whole lot. A lot of hockey, and this is my first game up in Canada. And
that's where
I was there 5 minutes, and I'm like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Was it a Saturday night?
You know what? It was an interesting story. It was Edmonton was playing Vancouver, and one of them was trying to get in the playoffs, and we were in Vancouver for AAA with the Angels. We got rained out like 7 days in a row in Vancouver, up the Northwest, and the guy who owned the Vancouver team owned the AAA team, and he gave us some tickets to go.
There's a base hit into right.
I was a fan. I've been a fan ever since.
A Saturday night in St. Louis is great. Don't get me wrong. Saturday night in Canada, you know, when you're seeing the Maple Leafs or one of the original 6, Montreal, it's just a different experience.
And they talk about like going up to Toronto that I don't know. I don't want to quote anything, but the games have been sold out for X amount of years, and when we go up to Toronto to play, or even in Montreal to play baseball, when we went there, people still hovering in the summer around the stadium, walking by, looking at the hockey, looking at the memorabilia. Got a chance to go to the Hockey Hall of Fame. I mean, just what a great opportunity to see a lot of history up there in Canada.
Cabrera with a base hit into right. Runner stays put at second. The first voice you hear when you walk into the Hockey Hall of Fame is that of the great Dan Kelly, and his son John, now the play-by-play voice of the St. Louis Blues, and Dan was the play-by-play voice for years and widely regarded as one of the greatest to ever get behind a microphone. So Cabrera is through for the afternoon. Had a walk and now a base hit, and has put together a Hall of Fame resume. 4-time batting champion. He's won 4 of the last 5. 10-time All-Star. Been an MVP. Won the Triple Crown.
It's not too shabby.
Wow. Remember when he came up in 2003 when he was slim, third baseman for the Marlins, and you're thinking, who is this guy? We found out in a hurry. What a player.
Doesn't have any fun either.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen him not smiling?
Always
having a good
talking
time?
at first base.
That's when you know the game is easy. This game is not easy, but it appears to be for him.
Here's an 0-1 pitch to J.D. Martinez. And a ground ball hit to the right side, taken there by Adams. Beats Martinez to the bag, and let's stretch. Scoreless frame for Jonathan Broxton. 2-0 Detroit on Fox Sports Midwest. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. And by your local Hyundai dealers. Visit buyhyundai.com. 2-0 as the Cardinals have been out hit 9-2 in this game. And here is Matt Adams in the bottom of the 7th against Bobby Parnell, who's battled injuries last couple of seasons. It's a mainstay for the Mets in their bullpen for a while. As Adams drops down a beauty. Tough play here, barehanded. His second bunt base hit of the spring against the Shift.
And if you've been watching this week, we've talked about this. You see that bunt right there. Talking about just getting it past the pitcher. You can see it's not a very good bunt, but you got to bunt it hard in this situation. But against the Shift, this is a great bunt. A desperate pitcher knowing that there's no one over there. Almost trying to make a dive for the play. Lead off, 7th inning with a nice base hit. Let the guys behind you do some damage.
Jonathan Rodriguez will be the pinch runner for Adams. Here's Yadier Molina, who's 0 for 2 with a pair of groundouts. Looking for his first base hit of the spring. High chopper towards third and foul. Remember the talk of spring training last year was just how thin Molina looked. And now that's kind of come and gone. But he has come in again in terrific shape. I mean, his body is completely changed from when he started as a kid in 2004.
We were talking about this when I came down to help coach the first week. And I still remember the days of Yadi in the back behind the training room having to ride a bike to try to drop a couple of pounds. Really? They really just wanted him to I think he was so young and just kind of nonchalant and just really hard worker. But when you see Yadi right here with a good swing, trying to drive the ball into right field, maybe just drive the ball in the hole between first and second right there. He just worked so hard, and he had taken someone's talk that he is maybe a little bit too chubby or whatever it was, and he went back there and rode the bike, to his credit, every day after practice. And I mean, who would have known that you were going to have one of the best catchers of all times back there just trying to lose a couple pounds just so he could get in that lineup.
Now it's about, taking some of the pressure off the knees as he advances in his career. And, think about the pounding that his body and his hand and, everything, what it takes to be a catcher every day at this level.
Both of his brothers were good catchers, great hands.
Little flare down the right field line, and it's foul.
Imagine all 3 brothers in the big leagues at the same time.
It's amazing. Talk to Yadi about it. He'll credit his family, in particular his father. Work all day, come home, hit ground balls. Yadi was an infielder for the better part of his young life before he became a catcher. I've talked to Tim McCarver about it, and when you get a chance to see his hand, you got to see the direction some of the fingers are going. You don't realize
the beating over time.
Yes, the pounding that the hand takes. Here's a 1-2 pitch to Molina. Did you play with one of his brothers in Anaheim or both?
I kind of caught a little bit of pieces of them playing at the beginning with Benji, and then knowing after I got traded and then coming back to watch some games and knowing Jose. But it's weird. Everything starts to blend in, and you start to forget where you know these people from, because I ended up being so close with Yadi, but I knew his brothers before. And those guys, they couldn't be nicer people.
Oh, yeah.
That family, those brothers all 3 of those guys are just awesome to be around. And I remember them all talking all the time. Every night after the game, they would call each other. And
the 2-2 picked in the dirt. I think if he didn't play another game, Yadier Molina's in the Hall of Fame.
I would
he'd be
definitely,
right there.
I would definitely go with that. I'd like to see him play some more games.
Oh, yeah. Longevity. But just in terms of dominating position defensively, and unfortunately for you, you dominated at center field, but there's 3 guys that you could go with. This is the preeminent guy at his position. And we talked about it in our previous telecast. Put you in Chicago, LA, New York, you're probably in the Hall of Fame.
I mean, I just don't. I don't know if people realize how much the catcher dictates the game.
Well, think about being up the middle. The importance of your catcher, your shortstop, your center fielder. Those 3 guys in terms of what you do defensively and how important that is. Arguably the 3 most active guys.
For sure.
Defensively in a game.
It's funny you say it, too. It's like you don't think about baseball being so physical and so much pressure on your body. But like you said, Yachty's, you see catcher's hands, knees, legs of the infielders, ankles, knees, shoulders, outfielders getting beat up, diving.
Molina went down to get it and hits a high fly ball out to left. That'll stay in the park. Rodriguez will stay put at first base. He showed tagging up, but back to the bag at first.
I don't think it really matters what sport you play. When you play it at the professional level, at the top of the highest level you can play, and you play as much as they do in baseball, you're bound to get beat up eventually over time. Can't even imagine playing football, especially these days. It's almost scary to watch some days how big and strong these guys are in the NFL and smashing into each other.
You ever been on the sideline of an NFL game?
Not in a while, but yes.
It's like watching a car wreck every play.
You said it. You hit it right on the head, too. They're getting so big and strong and so fast.
Scary. There's a ball to Brandon Moss. I remember watching Marshall Faulk just pop up every time. I couldn't believe it. I mean, he would just be popped, hit hard, and still every time get up. It's incredible.
Quarterbacks getting beat up, knocked around.
I think of the
running backs. I mean, I think about you even think about this, like the linebacker taking on blocks after guys running over, and both those that impact of those 2 guys coming around. Yeah, Marshall was amazing. It's so fun to listen to him talk about the game.
2-0 pitch. And I think about the famous Sporting News cover that had you, Chris Pronger, and Kurt Warner. Best sports city in America. You 3 were featured prominently on the cover. You probably have signed about 10,000 of them.
I always think it's funny when one of us is missing, because you almost don't want to sign it.
Right.
Like if you went and got Kurt Warner and then you got Chris Pronger, I can't sign it. Like, because the chance of you getting those 2 versus me, obviously their job is a little tougher to get to those guys than ours is. But I always thought it was funny. I said, you did something if you got that signed by all 3 guys.
Absolutely. Jacob Wilson will be the hitter. Reminder, What's on Tap is presented by Budweiser. And our What's on Tap will take us to Sunday at noon, the next telecast for us. Cards and Marlins here from Roger Dean Stadium. Jimmy will be with us. Our Budweiser What's on Tap.
My last one of the spring.
Have you enjoyed it?
I loved it.
Good. It's been great having you.
I don't know which was more fun, being up here with you or trying to play golf with the wind and Mike Helling.
Mike Helling, our longtime producer and director of Cardinals baseball. Yeah, we were playing 3 club wins.
It was
not easy.
Played Trump the other day, and I'm telling you, you didn't need wind to have trouble there.
It's tough.
It's tight. It's a great experience. It's a neat golf course, but and it's just what, 2 miles down the road here. Something about a nice golf course that's tough at the same time. It's challenging, beautiful. And frustrating all at the same time.
Don't forget the frustrating part.
Well, the frustrating
That's
is
every day.
Every day.
It's funny, we get asked, what do the players do all day? They go out and play golf? Well, pitchers, yes, a lot of them throughout the regular season, especially the starters, if it's not their turn, they'll go play. But then position players, they don't like to swing a club a lot of times. It might mess up their swing.
I didn't touch a golf club until I was retired.
Because of baseball, right?
I just didn't. I mean, for me, as a position player trying to play every day, I didn't have any energy, time.
1-2.
It was just, 1-2. I wanted to sleep, relax. I mean, I can't. What's the funny thing is not that you do walk a lot, but the last thing I wanted to do was to get on my feet and walk around.
Not if you're going to play in a major league game that night. As Wilson was fooled by that pitch and strikes out against Parnell. Yoenis Cespedes plays every day. Plays every day. No matter where he's at, he's going to go play. Matter of fact, there's a lot of talk during the playoffs. They were in Chicago, and he went and played a course, and somebody saw him there and clipped a picture of him, and they got a picture with him and said, well, here is Cespedes before game whatever it was of the NLCS. And he just bluntly said, this is what I do to relax. This is what I do to get my mind off the game. And if you don't like it, tough.
I was going to say there's going to be a lot of pressure today's social media with that. But you better be strong-headed to take the criticism if you're going to have some bad days.
John Smoltz said that Bobby Cox actually encouraged Smoltz, Clavin, Maddox, those guys to always play golf. And they're all three very, very good. Even on the days if they were pitching. He said if that's what's going to get you ready, relax, go do it. There's a high fly ball lifted out to the left. And Anthony Garcia is retired. So the Cardinals strand 2. And we head to the 8th. 2-0 Detroit. As we move to the 8th, Cardinals trailing in this game. Our BJC Healthcare difference maker, Matt Holliday, 1 for 3 with a single today. Also took a home run away off of the bat of J.D. Martinez. There's a vintage Holliday swing on a pitch that's low, and then in the 3rd inning, this high fly ball lifted out to left. We looked at it a little bit closer after the inning was through, and it definitely would have been a home run, so he took one away.
It's all that expert outfield tutelage he's been getting all spring.
Wait a minute, are you the guy giving him that tutelage?
Sorry, I forgot. Forgot I had 2 jobs.
You're balancing the 2 here at spring training, and that's swung on and missed by Jacoby Jones. I bet.
Carefully balancing the 2. I enjoy it, though.
It's got to be fun for you to get back in uniform. Get out there, run around a little bit.
It's a little scary at times. You don't know what the current roster thinks about you and if they have respect for you and they understand what you're saying. I know it's a lot of times I'm talking to some of these guys and they kind of look at you like I need to do this, and I don't want to do it that way. I mean, there's a fine line. You know, they really don't have to listen.
Walden makes the play. Even when Walden throws over to first, he's got that little jump towards the man he's playing catch with. We know about the unique delivery that he has, but even on throwing that ball to first base, he had a little skip to it.
Well, set your feet. Sometimes you got to get your body back into position. They always say step and throw. I guess if you're going to step and throw, do it the same way every time.
Sure. Here's Andrew Romine, who is battling for a bench position with Detroit this year. 250 this spring, no homers, couple of RBIs. And a fly ball lifted into right center field, and the catch is made. Hazelbaker has opened up some eyes here in camp. I mean, you're not sure about the bench yet, and he's the guy that certainly is in the conversation.
I liked the other day, I talked to him before or after, I believe it was Monday's game, and I told him that a couple of games I'd watch him play, that he'd kind of just trying to put the ball in play and use his legs. And he took a really big swing the other day and hit a ball that we both thought could have been a home run here without the win. And I actually went out of my way to find him after the game and told him, hey, that's a great swing. Don't get discouraged.
There's Ficcicello, and he grounds to first base.
I told him to keep it up, let it fly once in a while, and it was great to see they hit a home run yesterday.
St. Louis Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Bomberito, where price sells cars. By Shelter Insurance for your auto, home, and life. Visit your local agent or find us on the web at shelterinsurance.com. We're your shield, we're your shelter. And by Bud Light. Raise one to right now. The aforementioned Hazelbaker. Jeremy Hazelbaker at the plate. He'll lead it off. So again, he has opened up some eyes with not only jumps that he's been taking at various spots in the outfield, primarily right field. He's in center now coming into this game, but also with what he's done at the plate.
I think sometimes a young player can come to spring training and really not know what is expected of him and not really know what role he's going to play. And I said, like I was saying before, play the game. Just you get a chance to let it fly. Go after a home run. You get a chance. You just have to get on base. Play the game the way it's supposed to be played. Don't try to do something just because you're expected to use your speed. And it was nice. I actually didn't see the game. I think it was yesterday, but watched the highlights and saw him get a 2-0 pitch to hit and got out in front and drove it over the wall. So it's neat to see young guys kind of just almost evolve during spring training. As they get more comfortable with the team.
Hits it sharply to second base, and he's retired. He spent 58 games at Memphis last year and hit .333. Originally drafted by the Boston Red Sox in the 4th round. Signed as a minor league free agent with the Cardinals. And this is a big year for him. He'll turn 29 in August. So you get to this point in your career, if you haven't seen the big leagues, you know, you're on the cusp of maybe being that career minor league guy. But again, things can change in a hurry. But the impression you make in spring training carries over, even if you're struggling at Memphis, because of what you showed the big league coaches in spring.
Yes, for sure. And your mentality as far as the way you approach the game, if they know that you're going to just play the game and play it well, no matter if you're struggling or not. If they get a situation where they need to bring somebody up, they don't care if you're hot or cold. They want to know that you're going to be able to come up there and play basically mistake-free baseball and not get overwhelmed with the situation. And that, you know, a couple at bats here and there, and being just around the coaching staff for a month goes a long way.
It's Carlos Peguero. Big guy, 6'5", 260 pounds. He does have major league experience. He's been with the Red Sox, the Rangers. He fouls that back. He does have a home run this spring and hitting .462. So he
moves
Garcia,
around good too.
Yes, he does.
Watch him when he stands up at the plate. Tell me if he doesn't remind you of Ryan Howard.
Oh yeah. Lays the bat on the shoulder a little bit, then brings it up.
He's got a pretty good arm. Moves around good in the outfield. Nice kid.
One-two pitch. Rounds it to second. Backhanded there. Peguero, look at him get down the line. Wow. Almost beat that out.
Told you he could move.
Ball.
I didn't think he could move that well. That just opened up some eyes on both sides.
Exactly right, though. He does move well. Big kid. Man.
Get a look here, and he starts to kick it into gear. I wish we had the little stopwatch like back in the day with the scouts. I'd like to see what he got down the line.
There's Dean Anna. First pitch is hit out of play. Cardinals have a right-hander getting loose in the pen. Well, you mentioned how it impresses on both sides. There's also about 15, 20 scouts down there.
See a lot of guns where the pitchers are throwing right in front of us down there in the first 4 or 5 rows. Kind of sprinkled in and out.
We saw Ted Simmons down there.
There you go. Super scout. Guns are getting smaller and smaller each year, aren't they?
Well, I remember going to the ballpark, and at the old Busch Stadium where the umpires would come out, the seats directly behind home plate, there would be the next night's starting pitcher charting pitches. I mean, think about that, with the gun. So John Tudor would be, let's say it's a Tuesday night game. John Tudor's pitching Wednesday night. He's behind home plate with the gun charting pitches.
I remember those days in the minor leagues when those guys used to have to sit in the stands.
Yeah. The 2-2. Or your pitchers would be your first base coach in the minor leagues.
Yep. The guys got it easy now. They got Chad Blair in there doing all the work.
Oh, yeah. Chad is
in there non-stop on that video machine. He's charting. He's rewinding highlights. He's checking out what's going on with each player. If the guy's safe out, replay.
It's a busy man.
He does a good job, too.
So Anna flies out to center. We're midway through 8. Detroit on top 2-0. Our player of the game, Budweiser player of the game, is Matt Boyd, the starter for the Tigers. Struck out 7, the lefty, in 5 innings against St. Louis, against many regulars that you'll see every day in the Cardinals lineup. That's lifted into right, and Garcia giving a good attempt. This is Miguel Gonzalez, who's at the plate. Hefner is on the mound. The Cardinals only 3 hits today against Detroit pitching.
Kind of a quiet day for the offense today.
Very much so.
Another lefty. Having a little bit of trouble moving the ball around.
Jag him.
Could lull you to sleep sometimes.
Tigers make that bus ride back to Lakeland. Brad Ausmus at the helm of the Tigers again this year after a disappointing season. Watch out.
So that's why that net's there, I guess, huh?
That's it. Boy, is that a perfect example why that net is there?
Is that new this year?
New this year.
I like how they did that, to be honest with you. I don't think that that's a bad idea at all. I think that those are the seats right there that most likely to get a foul ball. I know a lot of people get hurt behind the dugout.
Well, chopper to short. You know, we were talking earlier about guys that if you get 2 strikes on them, the ball is almost in the mitt of the catcher, so he'll just put it in play, foul it off, and that's where those foul balls go. You did that a lot. I mean, you were a guy that could let the ball get deep. I mean, and who would ever forget Aaron Miles at the plate with Juan Encarnacion on deck.
I'm standing at the top step. But that just goes to show you. I mean, the people that say that they don't want their view obstructed, I think that they haven't been close enough to a line drive in the stands to understand how dangerous that can be. I mean, it's not just the first couple rows either. That ball's coming at you 80 miles an hour, 15 rows up.
At least 80. Jason Kreisen, an outfielder that'll be in the minor leagues for Detroit, is at the plate. 2 balls and no strikes. We'll see different safety measures at the ballpark this year. You also see a different look at the ballpark at Busch Stadium this year in terms of the new massive scoreboard, high definition. 10 years in now, they have changed that, made a big investment into that, and also into the Wi-Fi in the ballpark. You know, so many people are playing fantasy baseball now or following another team on their phone, so the Wi-Fi has been improved, and the club invested millions of dollars into that.
Isn't it crazy when you go to a game and can't really use your phone because everyone's on the phone?
Right.
You just turn your phone off and I'll get back to you later.
And that's why they did it. Tommy Field is your hitter.
I think sometimes I must think the plate's in some spot. See, is it moving, or am I getting a bad view from here sometimes?
I agree. It was a strike.
Oh, I'm not going to say it was a strike. It just looked like a good pitch.
I'll say it was
either
a strike.
way, I've seen. There you go. Your job is more secure than mine, then.
Oh, I've had umpires upset with me, and so have you.
Yeah.
Here's a 1-1.
Different reasons.
Yes. Well, umpires, what they'll do is, you know, the game gets over. Every game's on TV. And if there's a controversial call, they will go back. I mean, these games are DVR'd for them, too. So they're back in their clubhouse, if you will. And they'll ask, hey, take me back to the 5th inning in that play with Jim Edmonds. You know, was I right? Was I wrong? A lot of that is decided now with replay, but for the longest time it was not. And there's Jim's favorite, Angel Hernandez.
These guys, they really do a good job. It's just the problem is when they don't, it's magnified so much.
Yes.
And when you're a hitter and they think it's a big deal, oh, it's 3-0, it's just 1 strike. Well, sometimes they don't realize you're sitting back there not having to hit. You don't realize how nasty that guy is. You just let him back in the door. I was about to walk to first.
3-2 to short, knocked down, and out at first. So Hefner getting the ground balls and gets 3 outs. Good play by Jed Jerko. 2-0 as we head to the bottom of the ninth.
Introduce.
Right in the middle there is Mitch Harris. We haven't seen much of him. He's been battling some injuries here in spring. We always pull for Mitch Harris. Buried in the offseason. And, at some point in time, you're going to see him with the big club. Sam Tuivailala there on the left.
Going over the scouting report, no doubt.
Yep.
Rock, paper, scissors. I've played golf 7-8 times this spring. Just kidding, guys.
Here is Castillo, the new pitcher, and he'll face Jed Jerko. Hitless today. Jed has struck out a couple of times, 0 for 3. And batting .207 here in spring. Ground ball to third. And there's one away. Lindy Castillo. Last season he was at Tacoma. 19 games. Here's Jonathan Rodriguez. Ray Garcia's moved to the on-deck circle. I don't know about you. I was surprised to see some of the names that were in the lineup for Detroit today. After having seen the Cardinals yesterday, and then you have that trip from Lakeland, which is not a short trip. And they brought many of their regulars here. Kinsler and Miguel Cabrera, J.D. Martinez.
Just a bit inside.
That'll get your attention. All right, as a hitter now.
I was surprised to see Miggy here a little bit, but, somebody's got to travel.
Somebody's got to travel.
Sorry, go ahead.
As a hitter, you see that pitch. I always, Molina is interesting. When he sees a pitch that comes up and in, you can almost put the house on it. He's swinging at the next pitch, and he's gonna, dig in, and it's gonna be a big cut.
Well, I'm watching right there. I think the catcher is set up outside, and just I know sometimes guys go inside for purpose. Sometimes it gets away. You don't often see a catcher set up outside and you lose a pitch that far inside.
The breaking ball misses. Tigers will play the Marlins here tomorrow, so some of those regulars will head back if they drove separately, which does happen, especially for the veterans. Here's a 2-2. With a breaking ball in the dirt, did not go. I think the one thing that replay has shown, as we were talking about last inning, is that the umpires are really good. Majority of the time, they get these plays right at the speed that we see this live. And a strikeout. Went again with the breaking ball and strikes out Jonathan Rodriguez.
Like I said, though, what goes unnoticed is the game is smooth for 8 innings, and one bad call, they act like the umpires are not good, or it's the worst call ever. Just part of the job that they got to deal with, just like you got to deal with it as a player. Strike out with the bases loaded in the 9th inning. You had a terrible day. Well, when they get the call wrong, it's magnified times 100, just because it usually, if there's something on the line, you're going to hear about it.
Here's Greg Garcia. He was the Cardinals' top pinch hitter a year ago. Led the club with 13 as he was up and down from Memphis to St. Louis. Cardinals' final hope in this game with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th. Haven't seen a lot of Greg Garcia at shortstop. Primarily it's been Diaz and Jerko. Greg versatile, can play third, short, second. He's even done a little first base. Hitting .259 this spring with an RBI. And it's 1-2. Well, it's a tough role there, and he did it quite well a season ago. .346 average as a pinch hitter.
Not an easy thing coming in 7th inning, 8th inning, sitting on the bench for 2 hours. Having a good at bat. And then being successful at the same time.
Puts it in play, hits it to second. This will do it. The Cardinals with just 3 hits. Outstanding pitching today by Detroit.
Shockingly slow offensive game today for me. I figured a little warm weather. The wind now is actually blowing out. Surprised to see a slow offensive day. Good to see Adam Wainwright get through pretty much 5 innings, almost 5 innings.
4 2/3.
4 2/3. But you know, the pitch count is so important, and it's just good to see he got to where he needed to be. And I thought it was, pitching wise, it was a pretty decent day today. What do you think?
Absolutely. Wainwright looked good. 4 2/3. But the Cardinals come up short. 2-0 our final. We'll be back to wrap things up in just a moment.
A fast